Welcome to BK Academy of Chess. The Scotch Game, or Scotch Opening, is a chess opening that begins with the moves e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes d4. The most important continuation is the main line with 4. Knight takes d4, which includes the classical variation with bishop c5, the variation with knight f6, and the Steinitz variation with queen h4. In addition to the main line variation, also important are the Scotch Gambit with 4. Bishop c4, and the Goring Gambit with 4. c3. In the main line after 4. Knight takes d4, both bishop c5, and knight f6, offers black good chances for an equal game. After 4. Bishop c5, white has knight takes c6, bishop e3, and knight b3. After 5. Knight takes c6, play almost always continues with queen f6. Black does not lose a piece on c6, because he is threatening mate with queen takes f2. The line continues with queen d2, d takes c6, knight c3. With 5. Bishop e3, play almost always continues with queen f6, c3, knight g. e7. Here, there are many 7th move alternatives for white. International master Gary Lane proposed bishop c4. In the book Winning with the Scotch, the line continues with castle, castle, bishop b6, where the position is roughly equal. With 7. Knight e5, another popular continuation runs bishop e2, queen g6, castle. Here, black has the option of taking the unprotected pawn on e4, but it is considered poisoned. With 5 knight b3, play almost always continues bishop b6, a4, a6, knight c3. Another plan for white is to play 6. Knight c3, followed by, in some order, bishop d3, queen e2, h4, and castling long. After 4. Knight f6, white can play the Macy variation with knight takes c6, or the Scotch 4 knights game with knight c3. After 5. Knight c3, almost always played as bishop b4, knight takes c6, b takes c6, bishop d3, d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, castle, castle, bishop g5, c6, knight a4, h6, bishop h4, bishop d6, rook e1, rook b8, b3, bishop e6, queen f3, rook b4. After 5. Knight takes c6, b takes c6, e5, queen e7, queen e2, knight d5, c4, is also very common. Where these main lines end, the first real opening decisions are made, which are too specific for this video. Steinitz's 4. Queen h4 almost wins a pawn by force, but white gets a lead in development and attacking chances as compensation. As of 2005, white's most successful line has been knight c3, bishop b4, bishop e2, queen takes e4, knight b5, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, king d8, castle. When black's awkwardly placed king has generally proven more significant than his extra pawn. With 4. Bishop c4, black can transpose into the two knights defense with knight f6, or continue the Scotch with bishop c5, c3, and knight f6, will transpose into a safe variation of the Giuoco piano. Black can instead accept the gambit with d takes c3, but this is riskier because white will gain a lead in development. A possible continuation is knight takes c3, d6, bishop g5, knight g. e7 castle, castle, knight d5, note that 7. Queen b3, is dubious as the following line is good for black, queen d7, knight d5, knight g. e7 queen c3, castle, castle, knight takes d5, e takes d5, knight e5, knight takes c5, d takes c5, queen takes c5, bishop d6, however, 7. Castle, may also be good. The main alternative, favored by Grandmaster Sveshnikov, is 6. Bishop takes f7, king takes f7, queen d5, followed by queen takes c5. The Goring Gambit with 4. c3, white sacrifices one or two pawns in return for a lead in development, and typically follows up by putting pressure on f7, with bishop c4, queen b3, and sometimes knight g5, while knight c3, to d5, is another common motif. Black can equalize by transposing to the Danish declined with 4. d5, when the critical line runs e takes d5, queen takes d5, c takes d4, bishop g4, bishop e2, bishop b4, knight c3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, queen c4, or on move 6 play bishop b4, knight c3, bishop g4, bishop e2, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, queen c4, leading to the same position. This is often referred to as the Capablanca variation in view of the strength of Black's concept in the game Marshall Capablanca, Le Capat Con, 1926. This line, which can also arise from the Chigorin defense to the Queen's Gambit, forcing White to either exchange queens or forego the right to castle with the risky 10. Bishop e3, which keeps many players from employing this gambit. Equal endgames result after either 10. Queen b3, queen takes b3, a takes b3, knight g. e7, or with 10. Bishop takes c6, b takes c6, queen e2, queen takes e2, king takes e2, knight e7. If Black avoids steering for Capablanca's ending, for example with 6, knight f6, or with 6, bishop g4, followed by castle queenside, then White obtains good piece play in return for the isolated d-pawn. White can deviate with 7, knight c3, with the idea of meeting bishop b4, with a3, or with 7, knight c3, bishop g4, a3, leading to the same position, or the rare 5, bishop d3. However, neither of these deviations promise an advantage for White. Another way for Black to decline the gambit is with 4. Knight f6, transposing to a line of the Ponziani opening. The continuation 5. e5, knight e4, was endorsed by the book, Dangerous Weapons, e4, e5, 2008. But Tim Harding considers knight d5, a better try for equality, when White can continue on move 6 with bishop b5, queen b3, bishop c4, or c takes d4, for example play could continue with 6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight b6, bishop b3. Black can also decline with 4. Knight g. e7 intending d5, when the critical continuation is bishop c4, d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, castle. According to international master John Watson, Black may be able to equalize with bishop e7. However, declining the gambit with 4. d3, allows White some advantage according to Batsford Chess Openings 2, after bishop takes d3, d6, bishop f4, bishop e7, h3, knight f6, knight b, d2, bishop d7, queen c2. If Black accepts the gambit with 4. d takes c3, White can commit to sacrificing just one pawn with knight takes c3. Black's most critical response is generally considered to be bishop b4, when White does not get enough compensation after 6. Bishop c4, d6, castle, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, knight f6, when 9. Bishop a3, bishop g4, is insufficient, and with 9. e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, queen b3, queen e7, bishop a3, c5, does not give enough compensation for 2 pawns. Also 11. Queen takes d8, king takes d8, bishop takes f7, king e7, is also good for Black. White can deviate with 7. Queen b3, when the old main line runs queen e7, castle, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, giving White good compensation. Thus both John Watson and United States Chess Federation master Mark Morse recommend 7. Bishop takes c3, in order to meet queen takes c3, with queen f6, when White loses too much time with the queen. So after 7, bishop takes c3, white often continues with b takes c3, when queen e7, castle, knight f6, can be met with 10, e5, transposing back to lines arising from castling on move 7. Though these are insufficient for white, however, white could try the relatively unexplored bishop g5. Other deviations for white include 7, knight g5, and 6, bishop g5. Black's main alternative is 5, d6, which usually leads to complications and approximately equal chances after bishop c4, knight f6, 7, queen b3, queen d7, knight g5, knight e5, bishop b5, c6, e4, or after 7, knight g5, knight e5, bishop b3, h6, e4. Also playable for black is 5, bishop c5, transposing to the Scotch Gambit after bishop c4, but cutting out the possibility of bishop takes f7, and 5, knight f6, bishop c4, can transpose back after 6, d6, or black can attempt to transpose back with 6, bishop b4, but this allows e5, d5, e takes f6, d takes c4, queen takes d8, knight takes d8, if takes g7, rook g8, bishop h6, and 5, c takes b2, bishop takes b2, an approach which John Ems considers far more dangerous for black. If black does not accept the second pawn with 5, c takes b2, then white can avoid black's most critical response to 5, knight takes c3, bishop b4, bishop c4, d6, for example after 5, d6, white's best is knight takes c3, transposing back to the 5, knight takes c3, d6, line, and 5, knight f6, knight takes c3, transposes to the 5, knight takes c3, knight f6, line, and 5, bishop b4, is well met by castle, or b takes c3, transposing to the Scotch Gambit, and 5, bishop c5, also transposes to the Scotch Gambit, and 5, bishop e7, which is well met by queen d5, transposes to the Hungarian defense. Thus black's most critical response to bishop c4, is to take the second pawn with 5, c takes b2, bishop takes b2, d6, 7, castle, bishop e6, bishop takes e6, if takes e6, queen b3, queen d7, or with 7, queen b3, queen d7, bishop c3, knight h6. Black's main alternative is with 6, bishop b4, whereupon an approach with queenside castling is considered dangerous for black, for example 7, knight c3, knight f6, queen c2, d6, castle queenside. And there you have it, the Scotch game, also known as the Scotch Opening. Thank you for tuning into BK Academy of Chess, where together we build, and over the board we even the score.